You know ID in the town all day. ID in the SEA. You know ID in the town all day. ID in the SEA.
Hello and welcome to episode 492 of the fabulous Peltoncast, sponsored by our friends at Pagliacci Pizza. I'm your co-host, Kevin Pelton.
And I'm Tristan Carcino.
And we're coming to you in separate locations as usual. I'm in Seattle, Washington, home of the AL West champion Mariners.
Hello. And I'm coming to you from Renton, Washington, home of the Super Bowl 48 and DVOA leading, point differential leading, tied for first place, Seattle Seahawks.
There it is. For some reason, the fact that when people talk about the NFL standings in week 14 or whatever week it is, that they include the tiebreakers, it really bothers me because it's like, well, it's not fair. The Rams got to play, granted that not that home field at SoFi Stadium is a big thing. The Rams got to play the Seahawks at home, and the Seahawks haven't gotten to play the Rams at home. But of course, if you apply it by that logic, then you also shouldn't look at the standings to apply it.
I was going to say a counterpoint to this is, who cares?
It just really bothers me for some reason because there's such a hyper fixation on the Chicago Bears last week being the number one seed. And it's like, I mean, yes, but because of extremely complicated tiebreakers, like it's not a meaningful distinction at this point. So there you go.
Well, okay.
All right. On that note, we've done the podcast.
It's the Brandon Mebane edition.
It sounds right.
I like when we're in the 90s because it's like it could only be like defensive linemen, basically.
Maybe the occasional very odd college tight end or kicker, I suppose.
Nas Jones, remember him?
Yeah.
He was the one who had the pick against Aaron Rodgers, right? In week 1, I want to say, against the week 1 or 2 against the Packers, that he took back for a touchdown, and it may have been called back.
That sounds vaguely familiar. This was like right after the first full season the Peltoncast was back.
Maybe. I think it was later. It was more like 2019.
No, it was 2017.
Okay. Was he a rookie? No.
I mean, I guess I can't go to I don't know if I can go to the play-by-play and find this because the play didn't
2018.
Happen. Oh, okay.
September 10th, 2000. No, wait, never mind. September 10th, 2017.
Yeah. Yeah. Returned 64 yards for a touchdown. Penalty on Jeremy Lane. Penalty on Cliff Averill. Block above the waist, 10 yards.
Ugh.
So the interception did stand, but the Seahawks got the ball at their own at midfield. And then immediately ran twice with Eddie Lacy because that's the thing that happened recently. You did have 6 yards on one of them. Wasn't that bad?
All right, fair enough.
It was a run pass situation.
Yeah,
and then they punted on 4th and 2 at the Green Bay 42.
Oh my God.
Because 2018 was a long time ago.
Can I give a random aside and feel free to disagree with me about this?
Oh, this podcast would never work if we did random asides.
I asked this time. Was Moose Johnson kind of a little bit better this week?
I thought he generally did a very good job. Yeah.
I normally, he even was like, I think they should go for this 4th down.
That is correct.
And I was like, have we all of a sudden it happened to Sean McVay? Do we have evolved Moose?
I mean,
somehow?
Pete Carroll is number 1 in the league in 4th down attempt rate. Again, 2018 is a long time ago, I guess. In that case, 2022 is a long time ago. 23, whatever. I guess that was the most recent Pete Carroll Seattle season. The crew did like the decision to take the points when the Falcons got within a 2-score game at 23-9, only to immediately surrender another touchdown.
See, I basically only watched I didn't only watch the first half, but I was picking up Luca from baseball practice. Like literally the second things got good for the Seahawks, I was just listening on the radio.
So it was you. And here all the time, I thought it was my friend Todd who arrived to the game at halftime because his flight was delayed to Atlanta.
Oh, I like that too. That's very fun to arrive at halftime of that game. It was Steve Rabel. I needed to be listening to Steve Rabel call the game.
There it is.
And be getting hyped. That's what made it better.
Well,
anyway.
Should we start with that semi-emergency pod style?
Sure.
So the Seahawks tied 6-6 at halftime, and the offense felt very figured out. And then one man changed everything for the Seattle Seahawks, and that man's name was Rashid Shaheed by returning the opening kickoff of the second half for a touchdown, Percy Harvin style.
Can I disagree with what you're saying right now?
I mean, I don't actually think that changed everything, but
because I was going to say he returns the kick for the touchdown in the beginning of the second half, and I'm like, ugh. I was like a little mad about it
because you wanted to see the offense out there, see what they could do.
But after that, I mean, obviously, I wasn't mad about it, but like, it was a little bit of like, I want this offense to be moving. The thing that actually changed things is the rest of the second half after that. It's the drives after the Rashid Shaheed touchdown. And I don't think that they needed the cushion of the Rashid Shaheed touchdown to be able to do that.
Well, you know who did it? A young man named Rashid Shaheed. They're 3rd and 2 at their own 20 after the touchdown. Like, have run for 1 yard on the opening play, on their opening offensive play of the second half. Feels a little dicey again, but a 6-yard pickup to Rashid Shaheed on 3rd and 2 gets the offense going. Because one thing Ben Baldwin posts, the Republican brother Ben Baldwin posts every week on social media, like the series conversion rates. And the Seahawks aren't necessarily very good at that, in part because of the fact that they rely on big plays. But also I think there's an element of like, and we've seen this with the Seahawks offense for a while, predating different offensive coordinators, different quarterbacks. They need 1 or 2 to get them going. And also there is an element that is broader to the NFL of just now, because of the fact that teams don't punt on 4th and 2 at the 42 as often, like you just need to get to the point where you can start going for it on 4th down.
Yeah.
And then offenses become unstoppable.
Well,
until they get into the red zone.
Again, the Shaheed return, maybe it got them going or whatever. But like the plays that are exciting for me are the 8 plays, 88 yards and a touchdown, JSN with 58 yards on those 2 long big plays, because it was kind of like the big plays are back, dog. Then it was the field goal, on the menu. touchdown, and they eventually punted once the game was over. And even had a pretty good drive before they punted there. And that is like,
and that was running with who was running on that drive? Oh, Velus Jones.
Yeah, Velus Jones. So that, and it really felt like when I was watching this game where I was like, the Falcons are good for half. And that's the whole game. I was like, yeah, this is a nice first half that the Falcons are having, but that's what they do. Because I've watched the Falcons a lot, and it's like they'll give you a half. You might be like, the Falcons are playing pretty good here. But then the Falcons don't play 2 halves of football. They are not a good enough team to do that.
I mean, they don't typically lose by 28 points.
No, I mean, it was a great victory. And another of, I think we even talked about this last week, where I was like, the Seahawks might play another boring game. And they made it interesting for the first half at the very least. But the other thing that I think we have to go back and look at.
They had lost 30-0 to your other favorite team.
Who's that?
Carolina Panthers.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the Giants. I have too many favorite teams.
Also lost 34-10 to Miami, but lost by 1 point at New England, 6 points in overtime at Indy, 3 points in overtime at home to Carolina, and 3 points at the Jets were their most recent losses.
I mean, it's a good, massive victory. They're all good, but this is like, it is a better tier than beating Max Brosmer. But I do think you also have to look at the Minnesota Vikings game that happened against, for what was a good chunk of the game, Jane Daniels and the Washington Commanders, 31-0 in the end. And that's what I told you last
week. In NFL history that a team went from losing a shutout to winning a shutout in consecutive weeks.
Now, the Commanders' yards per play weren't as terrible as I think losing 31-0 they could have looked like. But what I said to you last week was that I watched them, right? There is something I do feel like when you watch the game from the game, you can kind of feel the defense, especially when you're like, you can sort of feel how a team is playing versus watching on TV. And I was like, that Vikings defense was good. Like the pressure, it looks a little bit more real when you're sitting above and watching it or something like that. Just how fast they move.
They're up to 8th in defensive DVOA, I believe. They were 20th coming into the Seahawks game, if I recall correctly.
Which is bonkers how like where they were at that point. And maybe they've just gotten better throughout the season. But like these 3 games that they've put together, the Packers game, the Seahawks game, and this Commanders game is like if this were early in the season, if they would have had more time to turn it around, I'd be like, the Vikings are scary. In the way that I said after the Texans game, I was like, the Texans are a scary team. They just had a little bit more time to turn it around and probably better offense than the Vikings have. So the combination of those 2 things, to go back to your question last week of, are we concerned about the Seahawks offense? The answer was yes for a half. And how quickly 1 half of football can change things to, we went from, oh no, to by the second half, we're winning the Super Bowl.
I don't know if I concluded that, but I highlighted that third down catch. Overall, Rashid Shaheed, 4 catches for 67 yards on 5 targets. By far the most he's been involved in the pass game. In offense, period. He did not have any carries in this one as he has in previous games. But
which we don't need Rashid Shaheed to have carries. That is like how they wanted to get him involved early was just like it's garbage getting him involved. Like that is the type of stuff that you do where you're like, we have to get this player the ball, but we don't have them schemed into the offense. And in the first half, I think were all those catches in the second half? He must have had one in the first half.
I believe they were all in the second half. I can double check that.
At halftime, I was like, what a bust this Rashid Shaheed trade has been so far. Through that first half, I was literally thinking. I was thinking about it in the first half of just being like the Shaheed trade has been, has been kind of a bust. I mean, it's only been a few weeks, right? There's more season to be played, but then one half, everything changes, and it's like Rashid Shaheed's part of the offense, and my expectation is that it's going to continue. I know it's kind of small sample size right now, this one half versus the Falcons, but I do think sometimes that's all it takes is. Because it's not just one half, it's the weeks that he's done getting involved in the Seahawks offense. But I was kind of feeling like, damn, they're really missing Torrey Horton right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that was definitely one of the potential takeaways. I mean, I felt like it was probably somewhat more in this first half about, the Seahawks struggling to deal with Atlanta's pressure, but that's a factor. Shaheed did have 1 catch for 12 yards in the first half to get them to a 3rd and 1 on which Sam Darnold threw it, the interception off Elijah Arroyo's hands. So
I didn't even think that was that bad of a throw, to be honest.
It wasn't a terrible throw, but it was a force play, I would acknowledge. So,
I mean, Darnold in general, like in the end, the second half looked great. JSN with the 92 yards and 2 touchdowns. All of a sudden, he skyrockets in Offensive Player of the Year odds.
Well, mostly because of what we're going to talk about later, affecting Jonathan Taylor's odds.
It's not just that, though. Like, Jonathan Taylor's done a third, and Jahmyr Gibbs had a really good week also. But the way that JSN is playing right now, it was just nice to see him back. The whole thing where it's basically just like, okay, we're good. Yeah. Like once you kind of reestablish that baseline of where you'd been after a couple of weeks where it hadn't been quite the same. But
it was a calm down game.
It was the reality was it was one game against the Vikings. It felt like it was more. We talked about the yards per play against the Titans.
Parts of the game against the Rams.
It was still mostly turnovers against the Rams that were the problem.
We get yada yada over the turnovers; they're important. But
I actually also think Darnold.
I do think even
he
though
was
the
a little bit more careful with the ball in this game too.
Even though the Seahawks moved the ball against the Rams, there weren't a lot of big plays in that game, were there?
No, the Rams did a good job of taking that away. And they're going to have to...
The Rams are a really good team. Fun fact about the Rams.
In 2 weeks, they're going to have to scheme it up. Like, they're going to have to really do some work and figure it out. And they don't have that many days to do it. But maybe they could just take all these days to figure that out. I also think the Seahawks defense is just better than they were then. The Seahawks defense is... We'll see how they get through the Colts game. But, like, the defense is better now than they were the last time they played the Rams.
I mean, they're already pretty good in that game, I would say.
No, and I'm telling you, they are better somehow.
And they are healthier to a degree now. Got Julian Love back in this one. Got Jay Reed back. And Nick Emanwari, a breakthrough game. You have nothing to add on that?
No, it was incredible. I mean, you've seen the stat about like the blocked punt, sack, tackle for loss. Like I think that was it, or is it interception 2? That it's happened 2 times in NFL history, and the other time was Leonard Williams to have that combo. Are you aware of this?
I don't know if I am aware of this.
There's like a set of things. I don't remember whether the interception is part of it, but it's like a sack, a tackle for loss, a blocked punt, like all of those things, and it's happened 2 times in NFL history, and it was Leonard Williams last year and Nick Emanwari this year. So, I mean, Mike Macdonald has them playing at an unreal level. There's a lot of talent on the defense across the board, but like, I mean, Emanwari is basically like, everybody has talked about how good the game was, but he put himself on the map, and he's put himself in the position for, defensive rookie of the year to be in that conversation. Just the big plays in general and how fast and how hard he hits. He got dinged a little bit on the coverage stuff, but like the ball that Kyle Pitts got over his head, I was like, That was great coverage. I'm sorry. Every once in a while, old man Kirk Cousins is going to put one up in a place that it's really hard to defend. And I was unconcerned with that one. But I think the other piece is Devin Witherspoon is like, it's not showing up in the stats as much. Devin Witherspoon is playing at an unreal level this season and cleaning up everything that he's doing. Like the tackling, the coverage, everything across the board. Devin Witherspoon is playing like one of the best defensive players in the league. So to have both of those two players, it just feels like LOB again. Like it is kind of incredible that the Seahawks have this again. And I don't know if I want to say it's more exciting now, but like Devin Witherspoon they play just like a little bit more aggressively than that team did. And they hit and they are so fast.
I remember this guy named Cam Chancellor who played pretty aggressively.
But I'm telling you, Nick Emanori is like a next generation of, he's like, I think he's better than Cam Chancellor. Okay, like, but they do things differently too. You know, he's not a safety exactly like Cam Chancellor, but to have all of the pieces in place and the defensive line, like this team, the defense is just very, very exciting to watch right now across the board.
Without question. They did have 4 plays of 20 plus yards against the Rams, which is actually more than they had in the Tennessee game. They only had 3 then. Their 2 against the Vikings were a season low, and then they had 6 on Sunday.
It is kind of interesting. I mean, even like DeMarcus Lawrence is making plays, and he's somebody who, like, we kind of compared Cooper Kupp and DeMarcus Lawrence, right? As 2 players. Kupp's been okay, but it does feel like DeMarcus Lawrence, like there's more left in the tank. It's like those players, like, yes, Emanori, but like Leonard Williams and his impact that he's having. Julian Love coming back. So many players across the board are just playing at elite levels. And it gives the opportunity for Nick Emanori. You know, if Devin Witherspoon doesn't tip that ball, Emanori doesn't get the pick or whatever. So it's kind of like everybody is working so perfectly in unison. Even Steve Rabel was talking about this on the radio where he was like, they are just there immediately. The defense is so fast and so knowledgeable. And what they do is when they do bring pressure, they always have somebody covering it very, very quickly. They just don't make things easy across the board. That, like, a lot of the like misdirection stuff that you try to do, Julian Love is just there. Catch it and get your 6 yards, but like he's going to be right there.
You know what I'd say you ideally want going up against that defense?
What's that?
No quarterback on your active roster or practice squad who has started a game since 2023.
I mean,
an NFL game.
Yeah. We'll talk about the Colts at the end, I think, but I want Phil Rivers to enter this game so badly.
I don't. I like Phil Rivers.
You're like, we have to protect Phil Rivers. Just the idea of 45-year-old Phil Rivers. I do like the conversation around whether
44. He's only 44.
Who would cook a Pete Carroll defense?
Oh, I mean, if this was Philip Rivers coming out of 4 years of retirement, 5 years of retirement, I guess, to face a Pete Carroll defense, I would be trembling.
Here's also what I'll say is, like, we get into this mode when things are really good, and it's like, just enjoy it right now.
Of course.
Because they're not going to have the best defense. Like, Mike McDonald is not going to have the best defense in the NFL every single year that he is a coach, right?
Nope.
Right now, with this defense, with Mike McDonald, they are at an unreal level. And the fact that we've been able to have that basically like 1 decade apart, 2 different times, is really, really fun, because it's just like that much more electric when it's coming from the defensive side. Scoring is fun, and the offense being good is excellent. But like, when the defense is out there every single time, you're like, this could be a takeaway. There could be a sack. Something huge can happen here every single time they're on the field. It is really, really fun.
It is.
Especially when they're going against Brett Ripien. I just, like, it's frustrating because I'm like, they would have dominated this game either way, dimes or not. And now it's like, ugh.
I think they would have won the game. The line was 3.5 before Daniel Jones got hurt.
That is a bunk ass line. But
yeah, well, okay, we'll talk more about it. But let's get now to the toast.
Colts DVOA wise actually are quite good.
It almost got to Baltimore there. DVOA. Congrats to UW men's soccer, which reached the College Cup in Cary, North Carolina for the second time in program history with Saturday's 3-1 win at Maryland. They conceded the opening goal in the 19th minute, but answered in the 38th minute through Sato and Abuele and scored both goals after halftime. Charlie Kosakoff's 10th goal of the season gave the Huskies the lead in the 55th, and Alex Hall all but finished it off in the 70th minute. Richie Amon assisted on 2 of the 3 goals. UW will now face number 16 seed Furman in
Bring it on, Furman.
semifinals at 3 p.m. Pacific time, with the final scheduled for Monday. NC State, the highest remaining seed at number 15. The Huskies have already, I think, beat 3 teams seated higher than 15th on their way to the College Cup. Will face St. Louis on the other side of the bracket.
Wait, so explain to me how this works.
The College Cup is the Final Four.
Okay, so the Huskies are going to win the national championship?
Single game soccer is random, which is why none of the top 14 seeds in the tournament have advanced to the College Cup.
What seed are the Huskies?
Unseeded.
They're unseeded?
So they only seed 1 through 16 out of the 64 teams. So essentially, in like college basketball terms, the Furman and NC State are like 4 seeds.
Got it. Okay.
And the Huskies were like I don't know. I'd have to go do the math on where they actually were, but they were like a 6 seed, let's say.
I know nothing about the situation, of course, but
the
Huskies are going to win the national championship. I mean, a 16 seed has never beaten an unranked team before. I assume. I just don't buy that Furman is beating UW in this game. Come on.
It is kind of wild that Furman is seeded and UW is not. Furman has only beaten 1 seeded team. They beat number 8 seed
Frauds.
Number 8 seed Portland in Washington to get that joke in like an hour and a half to advance. NC State thus far has beat number 7 seed Georgetown, was the only seeded team they beat. And St. Louis, the other unseeded team to get here, took down number 6 Indiana, number 11 Bryant, and number 14 Akron. So the Huskies, having beaten number 5 SMU, number 12 Stanford, number 4 Maryland, have beaten 2 higher seeded teams than anyone else in the College Cup finals.
All college sports should be like this, where it's just like Mississippi State wins the national championship.
It makes things more interesting. This is what happens when you have single elimination tournaments in soccer. Other than MLS Cup this year, which did probably produce a worthy champion. Not good enough to, being a Cascadia team that couldn't beat Inter Miami in a final couldn't be the Sounders.
Who was it? It was
Vancouver lost to them in the final of MLS Cup.
They're good too?
Yes. This season, they got good. Congrats to Josh Naylor, speaking of Canada, for winning the 2025 James Tip O'Neill Award, presented annually by the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum, which is a thing that exists and I've always known about, to the Canadian player judged to have excelled in individual achievement and team contribution while adhering to baseball's highest ideals.
Oh, absolutely did.
Which include making a lot of signs when you're on the second base.
Yeah, I don't know about some people might not agree that he adhered to baseball's highest ideals.
I love him for it.
I couldn't name any other Canadian baseball players, so.
Yes, you can. You can name one other Canadian baseball player if you think about it.
Like Vlad, are you saying he's a Canadian baseball player?
He is, yes. He was the only Canadian on the Blue Jays. Or at least on their playoff roster. Congrats to Mariners president Jerry Dipoto, named Baseball America's Executive of the Year.
Wow.
For trading for Josh Naylor.
It's like Justin Hollander just doesn't even exist.
I mean, I understand why. It is kind of a strange award to have an Executive of the Year award when it really is a team thing. There was one year where when the Bulls got good,
also awarding executives is full oops all nerds, but okay.
That take is going to be popular.
It's like an award for executives is like Christmas Vacation cheering on the boss, but that's okay. Like, eliminated bonuses.
There was a Brian Doyle Murray discussion in the Discord lately.
Was there?
I can't remember what the context was.
He won Executive of the Year though that year in 1989 when that came out
for cutting the bonuses.
Yeah, for cutting the bonuses, huge savings.
So when the Bulls had the number 1 seed in the East, the year that Miami put together the Big Three.
No, this was Jerry Dipoto, not Jerry Rhines. Jerry Dipoto. Okay.
I believe that both Gar Forman and John Paxson got votes for executive year. They split the vote. Is there two executives, which was very confusing.
Jerry Dipoto has done a very good job, I think. The real honors here. I'm just a little bit like, to win this award, you just kind of have to get lucky, and Cal Raleigh has to hit 60 home runs. So,
but if you extend Cal Raleigh right before he hit 60 home runs,
that's how.
that's how it's done.
Market value, baby.
Sweet team control. We'll talk about that in a second. Congrats to NFC Special Teams Player of the Month, Jason Myers, who went 15 of 16 on field goals during November, the first such honor of Myers' career.
That's awesome. I mean, having him in fantasy has been very nice.
And he took a full advantage of the Seahawks' extremely conservative decision-making on fourth downs during the month of November because they were constantly beating teams by multiple touchdowns.
Yeah. Dude, Cameron Dicker last night dropping a 20. I almost got there in fantasy. If I would have gotten an AJ Brown touchdown, I would have won. But I was coming back from way back.
How are you looking for the Oops All Champions League?
I'm in both leagues. I'm in the playoffs right now.
Okay.
So both leagues are winning in this week.
Oh, okay.
This is how you're looking for the Champions League.
Exactly. That is what I was saying.
Right now, and I don't know what the name of the league is, but the one that you and I are both in.
I did move up to 10th.
Did you? I noticed there are a lot of Carcinos near the top there, and not a lot of Carcino Peltons near the top. 3 Carcinos with a chance to make the playoffs. No Carcino Peltons.
Been that kind of a season.
Famously. First you lose the argument about Husky football, and now this. I declared myself the winner.
Self-declared. You pulled people outside of Key Arena. Well, let's talk about Jerry Dipoto and some Transact over the weekend, because I don't think it pulled well outside of T-Mobile Park that the Mariners traded catcher Harry Ford to the Washington Nationals in exchange for left-handed reliever Jose Ferrer. Ferrer is a 25-year-old native of the Dominican Republic who made his MLB debut in 2023 through a career-high 76 and a third innings last season and emerges as the Nats closer after they traded Kyle Finnegan at the deadline, recording 11 saves. Historically has been extremely effective, obviously, against left-handed batters who have hit just 211 against him in his career, including 186 last season. His numbers against righties were not nearly as good, over the course of his career, and especially last season, but there is some batting average on balls in play luck going against him there that I think is part of what the Mariners are expecting to see improve in Seattle. He had a 408 batting average on balls in play against right-handed batters, which is obviously unsustainably high. But the real bummer here is, we've been watching Harry Ford for a long period of time as he came through the system, and he comes up in time to have the one moment with the walk-off sacrifice fly. But alas, that will be the crowning moment of his time with the Seattle Mariners after this trade.
So can I kind of defend this? Because when did ESPN get this trade, by the way?
I don't know.
Did they create it?
Let me check on that. But one thing I did look at, I was like going to look where Harry Ford, people were poo-pooing Harry Ford and the concerns about his defense. Will he stick at his catcher? And I'm like, who knows all these things? The people who are doing the prospect rankings. And then I went to the MLB.com prospect rankings. I was like, oh, look at this. Harry Ford's not in the Mariners, among the Mariners in the top 100 prospects. And then I realized it was only because they had already moved him to the Nationals and he was the number 42 prospect.
So the Mariners are the most aware of Harry Ford of any organization.
It's admittedly true.
I'm not saying that the Mariners are right about Harry Ford, but I do think that the Mariners. Well, actually, let me say this.
David Schoenfeld graded the Mariners a C+ and the Nats an A-.
I mean, I get that as far as upside goes, and I do think that it's kind of like it's a worthwhile trade for both parties. This trade makes the Mariners better next year, probably.
Yes, but that's not necessarily the only frame here.
But it's more important for the Mariners to be good next year than it is for the Nats to be good next year. Is why I'm saying the Nats can make trades like this where the upside, they can take a little bit of a bet on upside. Jose Ferrer, some of the numbers are very good, right? FIP 276 last year, 303 this year, a whip of just over 1 last year. Strikeouts for 9, not as high as I would like them to be, but still pretty good. They were up this year, in fact, 8.4.
He's noted for forcing a lot of ground balls.
And that's another good thing to have as a reliever, obviously, because he's going to be coming in high leverage situations, probably when runners are on base. So forcing ground balls is a good thing. Do they have stats for double plays on here? I'm
sure they exist somewhere, but I don't know specifically where they are. I mean,
only one last year. Or that's standard. That's him fielding double plays turn. I think that's him personally.
That makes sense.
But they needed another bullpen arm. Bullpen arms are more expensive on the open market than I think we give them credit for.
It's certainly that market is increasing all the time. And we, I don't know if the Edwin Diaz contract was necessarily that notable in that regard, but, the contracts that we have seen early this offseason have been consistent with that. And in going back to last year's trade deadline, the prices for relievers.
I mean, I do think it's like over $20 million a year for a closer. So it's 3 years, $69 million for Edwin Diaz. So I would say that's a pretty high fucking price to be paying to a closer. Now, granted, Edwin Diaz is really good. Jose Ferrer is not that necessarily, but the numbers are good. The value, the ability to go find those players, the Mariners learned this at the deadline, is not necessarily an easy thing, right? It's not like they can just go out there. Now, granted, relievers are kind of like running backs in the NFL, where if you have enough of them, you probably will have some successful ones. But there is still there is inherent talent to these players, and there is some consistency year over year, right? Munoz, Brash, players like that have been good for a period of time. They needed a left-handed arm. I don't think Harry Ford was necessarily part of the Mariners' plans at the major league level. And I think they viewed him pretty constantly as a trade piece. And I think they had conversations with all of Major League Baseball about what the value for Harry Ford was. And I think they learned that the value for Harry Ford on the trade market was Jose Ferrer. That is why I would defend this, because
there's always a reason, but that doesn't mean there's always a good reason. Because also it depends how they're valuing Jose Ferrer. Because I mean, obviously the obvious comparison to this is their trade a couple of years ago for a reliever, Gregory Santos, who, similar, and had actually probably been more effective the season before he came to the Mariners when he was in Chicago. He that season had a 2.65 FIP in 66 innings. And was 23, was in the same age range, and it completely blew up in their faces. I mean, that's life with relievers.
I mean, I agree that there's a downside. Left-handed pitching is more valuable, especially in relief, than right-handed pitching. Who they trade for Santos? I don't know. Orlando Baroa and Zach Deloach.
Yeah, I don't know. It was necessarily in terms of what they gave up so much as just the fact that he was a below replacement reliever for them.
The amount of time that Harry Ford was on the major league roster and how long it took him to get on the field during that time period was basically like, if he is good enough and they view him as good enough, he's going to find his way into the field. And he couldn't. And if they don't view him as a catcher long term, what is he? Right? I think we got excited about Harry Ford, and I think we think the value of Harry Ford may have
it's
been
not just
higher than
us.
It was.
It's also people whose job it is to evaluate prospects.
You're saying
Jose
because
Ferrer
of
was
the
still
Baseball
eligible.
America rankings.
I mean, just across the board, he's a top 100 in everybody's prospect rankings. And if Jose Ferrer still had prospect eligibility, which he doesn't now, he would not have been that high.
I think that's fair, but he's a reliever. I just not sure if
that's the point. He's a reliever.
Isn't a catcher, but people might be reacting slowly to how the value of relievers is changing.
Perhaps.
I don't think that we are going to regret this trade. How about that?
I think probably will not end up making a difference either way.
Yes. I think it feels like a bigger deal than it is. And it is one of those things where you have homegrown players and you get excited about them when they're prospects, and you want to see them when they're in the majors. The Mariners have a very deep farm system still, even without Harry Ford. And they are extraordinarily aware of what their plans are. and what their plans were for Harry Ford, and they probably weren't a long-term solution at catcher. So, I mean, they also continued to draft catchers after Harry Ford, and then he's like a not plus bat that you're sticking in the outfield somewhere. Where the fuck does he go then, right? I mean, the major league roster is going to transform, but all of a sudden, is he a corner outfield kind of bat? Like, I think Harry Ford does not answer any problems for the Mariners long term.
I just think it's too early to say that specifically.
I mean, they
like, what would you have said about Cal Raleigh at this age in terms of his bat? Not that I think Harry Ford is going to turn into Cal Raleigh.
I mean,
obviously,
hold on, I'm trying to look.
A 99th percentile outcome for Harry Ford.
I do
how aggressive they are. They drafted 23, I want to say.
He is 23. So, I mean, Cal...
He'll be 23 on opening day. He's currently 22. So they drafted Luke Stevenson in the competitive balance first round last year out of North Carolina. He's age 21. It'll be interesting to see how aggressively they promote him. He played at low A Modesto last year and only played 22 games, but 280, 460 OBP. So,
yeah, I mean, I think just comparing, saying, if your whole perspective, this is like the Curt Cignetti argument that we had last week, where it's like, if you're just literally hiring coaches hoping that they're Curt Cignetti, then sure, like, continue to fire your coach and hope whoever your hire is. If you're continuing, like,
don't want to fire Jed Fish,
you don't have.
But the point is, let's not say that. I do think with Harry Ford, what I will say about Harry Ford is, I do think there are multiple outs to where he can become a valuable major league player. I don't think.
Do you?
I don't think catching is the only path to him being a valuable major league player. And I think people treat that too definitively.
And that's where I think but the player they traded for doesn't not have value.
No, I'm not saying that.
I love that his positions are listed as catcher and pinch hitter.
They didn't trade him away for a bag of beans, but I'm still not excited about this trade. And you have not convinced me.
They possibly paid a little bit too much because they felt like they needed a young left-handed pitcher. But when we're at next year and Jose Ferrer is pitching in high leverage situations, we're going to feel very good about it. And we're going to be excited about that. And we're probably not going to be thinking about Harry Ford. And again, like, they are keenly aware of everything about Harry Ford.
But they were keenly aware about everything about Gino Suarez, and they thought that he was washed up, and they traded him to Arizona, and then they desperately needed him a year later.
He might have been washed up. Things do change.
You can't. Washed up is not a go back and forth. It's, you can't like check in at washed up and then come back after the weekend. You washed up only works one direction.
How about this? They might know that Eugenio Suarez is not a good hitter in Seattle, Washington. His OPS after they traded for him was 682. Eugenio Suarez,
but they know that, and they still traded for him.
They needed a little bit of a spark, right? Like,
it worked out great. No complaints. I'm just saying, like all of us, the Mariners front office is not infallible, despite that Baseball America executive.
I'm not saying that they are infallible. See, my bigger complaint about the Mariners is, there was a report that they might resign. Are we going to talk about this, or are we just talking Harry Ford?
I was just going to say we'll know more about Jorge Polanco probably next week. The reporting is that he hopes to sign soon. Wednesday is the last day of the winter meetings.
I'm a little nervous that the Mariners think that they are closer than they are. Which, granted, they were a good team last year. And also, it took an extraordinarily strong finish to the season. Like, we were fretting about this team making the playoffs. Not that close to the end of the year. There was a time.
I agree with that, but I don't think that's a reason to not sign Jorge Polanco.
No, I'm just a little nervous that they're winning these awards, right? Like, we are doing the victory lap after an ALCS appearance. That's what I'm concerned with. Is like, the goal should not be necessarily stay the same. The goal should be like, yes, lock down Josh Naylor. Yes, lock down Jorge Polanco. But they should be thinking to themselves, what can we do to get better? Which they are doing with Jose. That is what they're doing with this trade for the bullpen. But I do think it's going to have to be way better because you have to factor in.
I don't think you're giving enough credit to the Mariners' lack of payroll here.
Well, that's kind of the problem, though, is what I'm saying. They made a lot of fucking money last year, right? This is last year. I was okay with the offseason of basically running it back, and maybe making a few small changes. To me, if they do the same thing, it feels like we're sort of repeating what happened. It was 2022 was the year where it was like they made the playoffs,
or 23 was
22 was the year that they made the playoffs, right? And then they ran it back, and then they're all of a sudden like, wait, why are we not in the playoffs again? And it's like, this shit is hard. Other teams are trying too. And I worry a little bit with where the Mariners are at right now, of just basically like doing the same thing with the same players and expecting it to get better. Like, will there be some progression from Cole Young? Might Colt Emerson be a factor? Might Ben Williamson be a factor? Maybe. But like, they were a pretty healthy team offensively last year. The pitching staff can get better than they were. The bullpen can get better than they were, I think. But I think hitting wise, they were pretty near the like maximum outcome for this offense. Like, we did not expect them to be. I don't know where they rated like weighted runs created as a team, but it was pretty fucking high.
Yeah, I think if they're expecting to get better, it's from having their pitching be healthier over a full season, and again by improving the bullpen.
This is the year to me that if they were going to do something where it's like, we're going to, not like trading 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner when your team's actually bad, like type of situation. But
well, I mean, very good DVOA.
They weren't going to win a Super Bowl. How about that? I don't think they need to do something like that, but I do when I see these moments of them being linked to big names. I'm like, I think they should push a few chips in right now.
I think they are more likely to try to do that again at the trade deadline. They've done it, as you've highlighted, several years in a row.
That would be fine.
Mid-season. And by the trade deadline, one of the advantages of doing that, besides for the fact that teams are more desperate to get rid of not get rid of, but to get value for players before they hit free agency. The other reason to do it is you have more information about Cole Young and Ben Williamson and Colt Emerson.
No,
I know more clearly what your needs are.
I think the idea of doing it during the season is fine. Like, the team that you're going into, I mean, last year, like, we didn't care about Josh Naylor at this point. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm not sure I could have named Josh Naylor.
I remember Josh Naylor from his time on the Guardians. Like, I remember watching him, but also he
couldn't have named Bo Naylor. I guarantee you that.
He was just a guy, when it was happening. But do you understand what I'm saying? That like,
yeah, I understand what you're saying.
I think they are taking a little bit of an anomaly season, or like a best possible outcome season.
But I don't think they're doing that.
Run that back. I mean, they're not doing that because they made this trade with Harry Ford.
But I think they're operating within the constraints they have.
I don't know if there is regression, the kind of regression that could happen. They're not one Jose Ferrer away from making the playoffs or not. That's a luxury trade.
I suppose, but a lot of things will happen.
Okay. Who's going to get better?
I don't know if they're who's a Ketel Marte away from the playoffs either in that scenario, I guess is what I would tell you.
It really depends to me on what the package would have to look like for Ketel Marte. But like, he's also good. Now, I don't know. Arizona is probably a better hitting park, and we've had a lot of players who played there. Maybe it's just Gino in particular, but he's an all-star. He was third in MVP voting 2 years ago. Like,
it'd be very good to have.
If the price for Ketel Marte is basically just taking on his contract, which is massive for a number of years, I don't know if it's the worst thing on the face of the earth.
It's definitely not the worst thing on the face of the earth. But
if it's prospects plus that, then I don't know.
I mean, part of it is they've been very focused on this long window through Julio Rodriguez's prime, and we'll see how that adjusts based on what Cal Raleigh did last year. So.
Having the long window is good.
But I guess what I would tell you is if the price for taking on Ketel Marte is just his contract, then it's not him or Jorge Polanco. It's him or Jorge Polanco and trading away somebody else who's currently on the roster because the roster became too expensive. So you're cutting into some bone there. That's, I guess, what I would tell you.
I think Yeah, no, I don't know if they should necessarily do that, but also this is the time that the Mariners should be willing, and I think probably are willing to actually add salary. Again, literally money came in the door last year for them.
I mean, by maintaining the salary they had at the end of the last year, they are adding salary relative to where they were at the start of the season because they added Naylor and Gino.
I think this is the time that it's funny because Mariners fans that we're like pushing them at the wrong times. And I do think it's like, oh, Jerry wins this Executive of the Year award. It's like, let's just sit back. We love these players. We're happy about it. And I'm like,
I don't think that
we
him
might
winning
not
the
feel this
Executive
way.
of the Year award. I don't think they were like yesterday they were going to trade for 2 days. Last week they were going to trade for Marte, but now that he won the award,
I'm not saying that it's necessarily Ketel Marte. I'm just saying that there are players out there.
Award-winning President Jerry Dipoto.
Have to trust me on this Harry Ford trade.
Please refer to me as such. All right,
I guess that's why I viewed this trade as like, okay, I'm okay with that because they should be constantly thinking of how do we make the 2026 team better, not how do we make the 2026 team the same.
And I think that's okay. I think they should also be thinking about the 2027 through 2030 teams, and not that they're not doing that with Marte because he is young and under team control. Just the inherent volatility of relievers, to me, makes Ford a better bet during that span. All right, let's get into the roundup, starting with the Kraken, who have now lost 6 in a row and gone without points in their last 5 after a 4-1 loss to Minnesota on Monday. That was closer than the empty netter final score indicated. They were down 2-1 into the final 2 minutes, I believe, of that one before the Wild found the empty net. Chandler Stevenson described the game or the stretch as, quote, rock bottom. And see, the funny thing about rock bottom is you never know when you're at rock bottom until you start going up. So we'll see on that one. A trip to Utah on Friday interrupts a home stretch that wraps up Tuesday for the Kraken.
You can't declare something rock bottom in the moment.
Exactly.
Rock bottom declares itself to you.
Oh, wow.
And it only declares itself in hindsight.
Sounders news: the Danny Leyva transfer to Nakaha is now official. So, they'll have a lot more salary flexibility, but have to figure out some additional depth in the defensive midfield spot. Also, the draw was held this week for the 2026 CONCACAF Champions Cup. The Sounders advanced to the round of 16 thanks to their Leagues Cup victory, and will face the winner of MLS Cup runner-up Vancouver Whitecaps and CS Cartagenes of Costa Rica. So we know which of those would be an easier trip. I don't know if it's actually a home and away format. I probably should double check that one, but it would also probably sell more tickets, quite frankly, to the matchup against Vancouver, if that ends up being the case, instead of a team from Costa Rica. Key details here. Let's see. Home and away. Yes, the first 4 stages each include a home and away play. So the Sounders will have to travel to whichever of these teams they face.
What about the other draw that happened this week?
Are we going to talk about it?
I mean, there's a chance of Italy playing in Seattle.
I just can't even go there. I'm too scarred by Italy in the World Cup qualification process.
We're going together, right? If this happens, we have to figure out a way to do it.
Yeah, as much as I'm against FIFA, and certainly the way they're currently handling the Pride match scheduled for Seattle is not making it any easier to support FIFA on top of gestures broadly and everything else. Yeah, I guess if Italy plays in Seattle, we'd have to find a way to go. Also, it's at noon, so it's perfect for me.
It's at noon?
I think pretty much all the Seattle matches are at noon.
Why is that perfect for you?
Because I have a job where I can just go to a World Cup match at noon.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I think a lot of people do. Okay, the random selection period for the tickets start. You just have to. It's gonna be open for a month, but make sure to put your name in for that.
Okay.
On December 11th. I mean, we could figure out tickets later because I guess depending on the price, I'm willing to buy the tickets on a leap of faith, assuming that they'll probably be a resale value if they don't make it. But
I forget who else is in Italy's qualification group. I want to say Northern Ireland.
It was like, I looked last week and I was like, these teams kind of scare me. Oh. There's like maybe one Mediterranean team or Eastern European team where I was like, I mean, I'm terrified of everybody.
Exactly.
They lost to Norway. They won every other match except they lost to Norway twice. And I was like, fucking Norway over here. But then I was like, Holland. Oh, yeah, okay. I get it. I was like, yeah, no, fine.
They are facing Northern Ireland in the semifinal on March 26th. If they win, they host that one. But if they win, they would have to travel to either Wales or Bosnia and Herzegovina.
So, yeah, see, I'm terrified of all these teams.
I mean, Wales for sure, but Bosnia and Herzegovina as well. And yeah, and Northern Ireland.
I mean, I think there's a pretty good shot because they did dominate like the rest of the.
I mean, they are obviously the heavy favorites in there. I take nothing.
Wasn't it? Maybe it was like Macedonia who knocked them out the last time. So I'm pretty sure it was a loss to Macedonia.
That sounds vaguely familiar.
I didn't even know Macedonia was a current country. I thought it was just like a historical culture.
North. It was not Macedonia. It was North Macedonia. Apparently, they now go by that beat them 1-0. Yes. Are they? Yeah. Okay. There you go. All right. Women's basketball suffered its first loss on Sunday as they opened conference play against USC, and the only women's conference game before the holidays. A defensive struggle saw the Huskies hold USC to 4 first quarter points, but shoot just 27% from the field overall. The Huskies stayed in it with 6 threes and 7 additional field goal attempts compared to the Trojans. They had possession twice in the final 4 minutes with a chance to tie, but a London Jones layup with 1:07 left extended the Trojans' lead to 5, and the Huskies never got any closer. Savia Sellers had a team-high 20 points, but needed 23 shots to get there. Avery Howell shined in her return to the Galen Center, where she transferred from with 16 points and 13 boards, but a tough one from El Ladine as she continues to work back from injury, over 10 from the field, and then the bench contributed just 6 points in this one. Freshman Jazzy Davidson, a name you will get to know without question, led USC with 22 points and 12 rebounds. Huskies actually moved up in the AP poll despite this loss, so getting plenty of respect. They're number 20 in the AP poll, number 23 in the coaches poll. Home on Saturday to face a dangerous Green Bay team that has made the NCAA tournament as Horizon League champs each of the past 2 seasons. Green Bay 1-2 so far against major conference teams, but lost by just 4 at Wisconsin. They beat Kansas State at home. That's a really good, it's a quality win, and lost to NC State as well as Richmond in a tournament in Mexico. They will test the Husky front court with 6'4" center Megan Schultz, who's averaging a team high 14.6 points per game. UW men also opened conference play last week. A wild pair of games against UCLA and USC, which I got to say, we were hoping for all second halves because they went a lot better than the first halves for the Huskies. Did you watch the UCLA game?
Most of it. I watched most of both of these games. So I watched the second half of the USC game. I literally turned it on at the start of the second half, and I was like, let's freaking go.
They trailed the Bruins by as many as 16, then went on a 17-2 run immediately after that point to cut the deficit to 1. Had a chance to win it on the final possession, but Zoom Diallo missed a 3-pointer that would have given them the win in the 82-80 loss.
It was pretty fun. It was like why do we even watch college basketball? I was feeling that earlier on in the game because it is sometimes such a slog. But you messaged me and you were like, if you have turned this off, turn it back on.
Because I was out at a holiday party, didn't get back until there was like 4 or 5 minutes left right during the middle of this run. So I only got the good part of this game. If there is one good thing about men's college basketball, it's that comebacks are very possible, as both of these games showed. Hannes Steinbach returned in a big way with 29 points on 11 of 10 shooting and 10 boards. Diallo had 19, but 3 UCLA players scored at least 17 points, and 15 UW turnovers were costly in the loss. So Saturday, they go down to USC, which is riding high, unbeaten on the season, up 18 at halftime. Huskies outscored USC 54-28 in the second half, completing the largest halftime comeback in program history, second largest comeback overall, and snapping an 11-game losing streak against the Trojans. We highlighted. I noted that they had lost 9 in a row to UCLA. I didn't realize it was even worse against USC.
Good God.
It's been a long time since they'd beaten an LA team. I guess they've beaten some LA teams, but not a Big Ten one.
I mean, Hannes Steinbach is just unreal, though. Like the game, even mentioning that UCLA game, right? He was 11 for 12 in the game. What Hannes Steinbach does, and just how old is he? 18, 19?
Let me double check that. He's not more than 19.
He came downstairs because we were talking about Hannes Steinbach. More on that later too.
Like a moth to the flame. He will not. He is 19. He turned.
He's the greatest basketball player that you've ever cheered for in your entire life, right? Come over here closer. What? There was the time that you cheered for Dame Lillard also for a period of time. Hannes Steinbach, tell us about him.
He's really good.
Good stuff. Wow.
Dynamite dropping.
It's like,
how did he impact your life?
Is he the best player? Is he the best basketball player you've ever seen from Würzburg, Germany?
Is he the best basketball player you've ever seen from Würzburg, Germany?
Yeah, just wait till he beats Washington later.
Nobody gets that joke.
Oh, I'm not sure I talked about it.
No, we talked. That's post pod. Even your Hannes Steinbach perspective, but Hannes Steinbach, just for how young he is, how polished he is of a basketball player, like being able to play with front to the basket and back to the basket, some of the passing, rebounding. I'm like, we've seen a lot of good players at UW over the years, but it's been a long time since we've seen anybody, especially as a freshman, who
he's probably still not as good as Matisse Thybulle's senior year, but that was Matisse Thybulle's senior year.
And that's also like Matisse Thybulle as like a complete player. Yes, probably Matisse Thybulle was better as a senior, but we've seen a lot of touted freshmen. He's way better than Markelle Fultz was as a freshman.
I don't know if I would go so far as to say way better, but he is better, I would say, than
his ability to just play basketball. You're just like, where did this person come from? Right?
Like, which, by the way, maybe this is the option you want for the Mariners to get better.
Steinbach.
You know who else is from Würzburg, Germany? Was born in Würzburg, Germany. I wouldn't say he's from there. Brendan Donovan, potential Mariners trade target.
Okay, Brandon Donovan's from Würzburg, Germany.
Cool.
Have you ever heard of him?
He's from the Cardinals.
He's on the Cardinals, evidently.
Okay. Oh, the baseball player?
Yeah, we're talking about a baseball player. He's a little confused because he can't hear you.
Not those Cardinals.
Not those Giants. It's just, it'll be a joke that'll exist forever.
Even though no one else probably gets it, because who remembers Major League 2 except us?
Not those Giants.
All right, yeah. Steinbach had 24 points on 7 of 12 shooting, 16 boards against USC. But Desmond Claude,
I'm shooing you away. Go.
Really the swing player in this one, scored 18 of his 22 points.
Come up with more interesting things to say about Hannes Steinbach, and you could be on. Next week.
18 of his 22 points after halftime against his former team.
I love that it's like revenge game, even though he left the team.
Well, they, like, I don't know. There was something with him getting into it with, it was Chad Baker-Mazara, who transferred there this offseason from Auburn, who was like telling him, "You can't guard me." And I'm like, is he upset because they were on the same team to get rostered together for like 2 weeks or something before Desmond Claude decided he was going to come to UW? I don't know. I don't know
Maybe
what the source of that is.
Maybe it's important to tell people that they can't guard you.
Look, do you tell baby fantasy genius that all the time?
Sometimes. He just joined a basketball team, by the way.
Nice.
It's been very interesting, I would say, this UW season. I mean, at some point we were kind of hearing people talk about Steinbach, and it was like, oh, this is real. But I do think the players, I was expecting JJ Mandequit to be like a part of this team, and he's definitely not been in the same way. I expected Kamari Peterson to Kamari Peterson had a couple of plays against UCLA, hit that three that
he's up to 36% on threes. I think Kamari Peterson's doing, more or less what I expected him to do.
Let me see that. What do you have against?
He's playing 77% of minutes now.
Okay, yeah, he didn't do that much in the USC game, but it is kind of nice the depth that they have, where it can be Steinbach is going to be. We know he's going to get his right, but like of who else is going to be a factor. It is kind of interesting who it is each night, because it does feel like it's been different players.
It was also kind of wild. They threw out, who was the freshman they threw out? The freshman from like the Bay Area. Muldrew, Cortland Muldrew, is that his name?
Definitely never heard of that guy, of Cortland Muldrew.
I forgot for a minute who he was when he showed up on Saturday. But they will presumably at some point get Bryson Tucker back. He hasn't played since he got injured in the Baylor game, I believe. Was that the game? Yeah, it was the Baylor game he got hurt in. They have not had Jacob Unasovic at all this season. And they also now get Nick Zapina is in the mix, immediately eligible after showing up in Seattle.
So we kind of exit this period of 6-3, 1-1 in conference, which is very nice having one of those conference victories, even on the road. That is a hard weekend to go do at the LA schools, right? They're both very solid teams.
UCLA, of course, but
okay, they split those. Yeah. Like they got the harder one, right? They
did.
got the road victory. But that's not, it's one of the harder games that you're still going to play on the road in the Big Ten.
Have you looked at the schedule in the Big Ten? I guess they do host Michigan. That's the good news. But they have 2 road games against top 10 teams coming.
It's a pretty freaking hard Big Ten.
Indiana is number 21. And then also they visit UCLA, who's number 30. Those are their harder road games than this one. They've probably got a slightly harder home schedule than road schedule, I would say. So that's good.
I think they haven't maybe slightly underperformed expectations, but it's by 1 game.
It's the Colorado game. Yeah. If they won the Colorado game, you would feel really good about where things are right now. They didn't, and that will hurt them. But I noticed on our old friends, BartTorvik.com, they are now at the bubble in terms of their wins above bubble metric with that win against USC.
But it's also, Hannes Steinbach didn't play in that game.
He did not.
And when your best player doesn't play,
in the Discord, like last week on the pod, I said I didn't think they were Hannes Steinbach away. After I saw Hannes Steinbach against UCLA and USC, they might have been a Hannes Steinbach away.
Oh, he's by far the best player in the team.
Yep.
It's really not even close. And the impact that he has is huge. I mean, where is Hannes Steinbach in the draft right now?
Generally late 20s.
Really?
I don't think we've done a mock draft in a while.
Is it because he's a little bit undersized and he's not like a great shooter? So the finishing is going to make a little bit more sense in college?
I mean, he's probably more of a 4 than a 5 at the NBA level, and he's not super athletic. So
he's just a very smooth basketball player. He doesn't play like Brandon Roy, but he's probably like one of the smoothest players that we've seen play basketball since Brandon Roy at UW.
I mean, Markelle Fultz was pretty smooth.
I don't know.
I don't know if you remember his he pull-up Jimbo. Hannes Steinbach 21st in the latest ESPN mock draft.
Okay, 21st. Yeah, that's pretty good. It would be very fun to have a first-round pick. I mean, it would be really fun for Hannes Steinbach to play 2 years in college. But
shouts to NIL.
Anyway, I think feeling pretty good overall. What do you think about? I saw a TikTok breaking down his first game of Rainier Beach versus Renton. What's the name of the number 1 prospect of the country who goes to Rainier Beach?
I would have to look it up. But he's teaming with JJ Crawford.
Oh, and I was watching it again. It's just highlights or whatever. But
Tyron Stokes, and then what's
JJ Crawford is his name?
Yeah,
I was like, oh, JJ Crawford is for real. To me, I was like, Tyron Stokes. I got a lot of questions, to be honest.
Oh wow.
I mean, it's just when you're playing at the high school level, it's like he's just dunking on people who can't. Like, it's a lot of dunks, and it's like that's cool. But this is not necessarily going to translate to the next level. It was something.
I think Tyron Stokes has played teams that are not.
I'm sure that he has.
Oh, it's Renton.
I mean, they won. They did not win by that much. JJ Stokes though, or JJ Crawford, I was like, oh, he is going to be very, very legit. I mean, whatever UW can do, like Danny Sprinkle needs to be there with, lawyers, guns, and money right now to try to get JJ Crawford to commit to UW.
I mean, they won by 21 ultimately. I think that's fine. But I've never seen him play, so I have no Tyron Stokes.
You have to go. You have to go watch him.
At some point, yes. All right, now a breather for UW. The Huskies' only game in a 13-day span as we get finals is hosting the Southern Utah Thunderbirds, the second lowest ranked team on their schedule on Saturday afternoon. Southern Utah 4-7, 3 of those 4 wins over non-D1 teams. They lost by 24 at Washington State in a mutual opponent game, though they were more competitive at Oregon State in an 11-point loss last Saturday. All right, UW football. Where do you want to start here? LA Bowl or early signing day?
Let's do early signing day.
That was last Wednesday. The Huskies 25-player class ranks 12th in the 24/7 Sports Composite rankings, the highest on record for them, which goes back to 2000. They were 15th in 2001, Rick Neuheisel's first full class, which was headlined by Reggie Williams. I guess that wasn't his first full class. Maybe it was his second class. I don't know. 16th in 2018, featuring Kyler Gordon, and 15th again in 2019, though those under Chris Peterson, including that class included Leatu Latu, Puka Nakua, and Trent McDuffie. So,
oh my God. Wow.
Two an NFL first round pick and one of the NFL's best wide receivers, plus Trent McDuffie.
Trent McDuffie was first round pick too, right?
Was he? Okay.
I'm pretty sure he was.
I don't remember he was second or first. Unfortunately, the two best of those players gave most of their production elsewhere, but obviously very extenuating circumstances in both of those cases.
Yeah, he's the 21st pick in the draft. I mean, I guess it's good to note that those classes have led to very good players, and that's kind of what happens when you have a class like this.
The Peltoncast recruiting philosophy, individual recruiting rankings are not all that useful. They're useful, but they're not definitive. But class rankings are generally a very good indicator of team success.
It was a pretty big class, right? I mean, it's a bigger class than like Washington had. No, I can't do that here. But you look at like USC was finished ranked number 1, 35 commits, right? USC is basically looking at turning over like a lot of the roster. USC is probably not a year away. They're probably 2 years away or something like that with that kind of class. And then just kind of where they are within the Big Ten. And I think that to me is kind of the most important thing, that you're always going to kind of be on these cycles as a team like UW. They're not going to be Ohio State, where it's going to be like, Ohio State's going to be good every year, no matter what.
It was kind of wild that Ohio State's recruiting class was not that great.
I mean, 6, I think they're fine.
I guess maybe they were lower in the ESPN rankings. That was when I glanced at those.
There's also a little bit of like, when you get to a certain point, you can kind of pick and choose the types of players that you want.
Exactly.
And I think that's what Ohio State is good at. And I don't think Ohio State is like, nobody is out there fretting if you're Ohio State, if you're Notre Dame, if you're Georgia, being like, we were 5th or something like that. You went and got a bunch of players that you feel like make sense for your school. Because sometimes these recruiting rankings could be highlighted by fluff. You know, like if you have 10 wide receivers or something like that, it's a lot harder to go get some of the types of players at different positions. But when I look in the Big Ten, they're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's 1 spot behind Michigan. I think that is a pretty freaking good place to be. And it's a pretty clear tier for UW to be in. And it's the type of tier that we want to be in, that if it's like, those are the 5 teams, right? And obviously Indiana's not a recruiting powerhouse right now, but like these are the 5 teams that kind of make up, with really not, UW isn't necessarily one of them, but like the rest of the teams are what makes up the bulk of the powers of the Big Ten. And if you're right there, that is a very good place to be. If you can coach the players and you could bring in the right players, if you can bring in the OKGs, you could be a team that is competing for the playoff with that roster. And this to me is what we were talking about last week, is like Jed needed some time here to do stuff like this. And I mentioned this to you offline. To me, like the number one takeaway that I have taken out for these last couple of years is, I think there was a swing, and people love to talk about this, just being like, recruiting doesn't even matter. Who cares? High school recruiting matters. High school recruiting is what is making most of these teams. And most of the teams at the top are still coming from high school recruiting. The transfer portal is important, and it's important to be active in, and it's important to go fill gaps with players in the transfer portal. Most of your roster should be built through high school recruiting, and that's why I'm excited about this in general. It's like, if Jed is here and he is building something, that's what we want. It took him in Arizona a couple of years. He brought in Arizona's best classes ever, and you know what that translated to? A team that is still good, that's basically making up Arizona and UW's rosters right now, both of them, and a top 10 pick in the draft in Teteroa McMillan, one of, I would assume, the highest drafted players in Arizona history, right? He might have been the highest drafted player in Arizona history.
You're not giving enough credit to Arizona's history.
Can you think of any?
I mean, I can't, but that doesn't mean there aren't.
Okay, at least one of the highest drafted players in Arizona history, and he was the highest recruit in Arizona history. And so I'm pretty excited about this class overall. But can we go through some of the players near the top?
I had some notes, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, again, talking about it more, I think in terms of like position groups than specific players. He is the second highest, tied for the second highest draft pick in Arizona history. Ricky Huntley, a linebacker, was drafted 7th in 1984.
Huntley.
Linebacker Chris Singleton was also drafted number 8 in 1990. That's kind of wild. I would have expected better. I mean, they do have one of the great players at his position in NFL history. It just happened to be a second round pick.
Gronk,
he happens to be hosting the LA Bowl on Saturday.
Hello, synergy.
We'll wait for that transition. This class is obviously headlined by 5-star left tackle Cody Green. Say that. Eastside Catholic, alma mater of Matisse Thybulle and Mrs. Fantasy Genius, before finishing his high school career down in California at Mater Dei in Santa Ana. So he's not technically considered the best recruit in the state, but they also landed the state's top remaining player in Kennedy Catholic edge Derek Coleman Brusa.
Yeah.
Whose brother redshirted Coleman no, that can't be it. Whose brother redshirted as an offensive lineman this season.
Arizona's had 1, 2, 3, 4 players drafted since the year 2000 in the first round. Man. And most of those are near the back. I'm telling you, what Jed did at Arizona is unprecedented.
I mean, I would have expected more in the 1990s, not necessarily in the 2000s. I mean, the 1990s, where they were the team that ended UW's winning streak and the Ortiz-Jenkins flip. But they didn't necessarily provide big-time NFL talent in that period. Lewin Coleman Brusa is the older brother.
Do you want to go through more or talk about these two players right now?
Talk about these two players.
Cody Green, I am so excited about. I mean, you know my feelings about offensive linemen. You could never have enough of them. And to have John Mills was great. But to have a big-time offensive lineman who the number 1 player in the state of California, granted he spent time in Washington, but like for UW to have gotten the number 1 player in the state of California to commit to UW is extraordinarily difficult. And it is definite achievement. And for that player to be an offensive lineman, do you know how many fucking years we went seeing offensive linemen from the Seattle area go to Stanford?
So many.
I am sick of seeing that, right? Not an issue necessarily anymore.
I was just saying.
But that is what a lot of those Stanford teams were built off of, right? Building from those lines. And to have that, everything that happens on offense starts at the lines, and to have a good offensive line, you could look at the team last year to this year. And one of the biggest differences is how the offensive line is different. This makes Damon Williams' life easier. This makes the gaps to run through easier. I am so excited about it because it's not just there's a value to different types of players. Going and getting the number 1 wide receiver in the country is like the difference between the number 1 wide receiver and the number 40 wide receiver is not actually that great. Or let's say number 4. Getting the number 4 offensive lineman is a difficult thing to do. It is the type of shit that the SEC does. And so to do that, to go into a place, into California, right? And to grab a player like that, it is massive for UW. So, I mean, we'll see. He still needs to fucking play, but like having an offensive lineman highlight this class is really exciting.
Jed Fish said he expects him to start from day 1. Obviously, we saw that with John Mills this year, but in this case, Mills might eventually kick out to right tackle after Drew Azzopardi is out of eligibility, but Green sounds like penciling in as the replacement for Carter Willis at left tackle.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Huskies flipped a pair of receivers on the eve of signing day or during signing day to bring that class to 4 players, including 3 4-stars, all ranked among the top 33 nationally, which I think is interesting in the context of, we talked last week about Audric Harris, who is still the one Husky player reported to be submitting a notification of transfer. Obviously, there will be more after the LA Bowl, but, I think that's him kind of seeing the writing on the wall between the freshmen who saw a lot of playing time this year, highlighted by Desmond Roebuck and Braden Feinsbright, and the guys coming in behind him, that there's going to be a lot of talent and a lot of competition at those positions, even if Denzel Boston does go to the NFL, which he said he is not yet certain about.
He's going to the NFL. He should. If I was advising Denzel Boston, go to the NFL.
I too would advise him of
that. Yeah, I mean those receivers again. To me, I feel like receivers were they're able to be found, but it is good that they're able to turn this over and just be like that they got some depth. They got some playing time from their young receivers this year. I don't think they need to go into the portal necessarily, maybe go find one receiver there, but they're a little bit unsuccessful with the two receivers that they did bring in the portal last year. And I think might feel a little bit burned by that and might want to maybe go out and develop the players on their own.
Wait, who was the other one they brought in?
The dude from Texas who left. Yeah.
Who was, had some legal issues. Also added 4 defensive linemen, including a pair of 4-stars, and 5 defensive backs, including 4-stars. Jaron Jones is listed as a cornerback, and Gavin Day is listed as a safety.
Rayshawn Duncan as well, cornerback. Seeing Taylor Mays as the person who recruited him, I think is pretty awesome. Taylor Mays coming back home and getting involved in recruiting is pretty huge. That one feels good. Secondary, defensive line, Derek Coleman-Brusa, just like.
And I'm not even counting him in that group because he's listed as an edge. I'm talking about interior defensive line. And obviously, some of this, how it's going to shake out, is unclear.
If Derek Coleman-Brusa is not an absolute dog here, I'm going to be so upset. Like,
it is funny, the Kennedy Catholic to UW pipeline, it just, for whatever reason, has not worked out.
This is it. This is the one. Can't you feel it right now on Derek Coleman-Brusa?
I felt it with Savell Smalls. There's a bold prediction somewhere in the archives about what Savell Smalls was going to do as a freshman.
I can't wait for Derek Coleman-Brusa. And I mean, the hope is that they don't need him as a freshman, but they probably will. I think he's going to find his way.
They're losing guys, Zach Durfee most notably.
I think he's going to find his way onto the field. I think they are very excited about, and that's the other piece, is when you look at college teams, like what can you do? I mean, I guess I don't know if it's even worth talking about, but like if they can hang on to Ryan Walters as defensive coordinator, what they can do with pass rush and on the offensive line. That's like, if you could do those two things in college, you've got yourself a team all of a sudden, because most teams cannot rush the passer in college. And being able to do something like that, I mean, obviously he's the number 1 player in the state. He's 6'5". He's rated number 17 as far as edges go. Like, we should be excited about Derek Coleman-Brusa and the work that Jed did, obviously knowing he brought in his brother. He wasn't a highly recruited player, but it's like, this is the family that we want to be involved with. And we talked about it last year. Literally, we were like, he's doing this for the signing next year, you know?
Yeah. It's exactly what they should do. And they did do. So, Brian Bonner, running back, I think it's going to be interesting to see, how involved he is as a freshman in a position where the Huskies are returning plenty of talent, but obviously losing Jonah Coleman.
And who knows? Maybe Jordan Washington transfers. We have no idea.
Certainly, Jed Fish, when he was talking about the future of the position on signing day, included Jordan Washington pretty prominently in there. So, we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited about these guys, and it's not. I think people overstate the impact of the transfer portal, particularly in football. It's not as exciting as it used to be, where it's like these guys are very likely going to be here for 3 to 4 years, unless something goes wrong in terms of going down to a lower level of competition. But as you said, it's still the lifeblood of the team, and you see situations where even with the Huskies coaching changes, Denzel Boston.
Yep.
Who recruited him again? Jimmy
Lake. Yeah.
Yeah.
You could always trace
3 coaches later.
A lot of the team that is on the field, aside from basically like this team that Jed had to bring in from a lot of the transfer portal, and so many freshmen playing, like you can always trace them back to a recruiting class. So but the thing that is most exciting to me about this one is where the players are, seeing that top 5, and it's like an offensive lineman at number 1, let's fucking go. Right. Literally could not ask for anything more than that. I'd rather have an offensive lineman as your number 1 recruit than a quarterback. It is the most important position to me. I mean, I guess maybe edge. Like if you could go get the number 1 edge, Grant, I don't know who the number 1 edge committed to. It's probably, I don't want to look.
I think I saw it in the ESPN breakdown, but let me go double check.
Is it bad news?
No, I don't think it's Oregon.
Okay.
That's what you're asking.
But then if it's not, it's probably Georgia or somebody like that. Safety, defensive line, edge, running back. Like, to me, those are 4 out of the 5 positions where I'm like, that is what I want to go hard on is edge players, safeties, defensive linemen, offensive linemen. That's what you have to do in the Big Ten. And I think that's why it was really exciting. They're going to have good receivers. UW is going to have good receivers. They're going to have good running backs. There basically hasn't been a season in the last 15 years that it's been like, wow, we just don't have good receivers, right? UW just we're going to have good receivers.
Michigan, for the record.
Michigan is where the number one edge went to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that also makes sense. Like going to, those are the types of teams that we're competing with here, right? Those are the types of games that UW has to have the line to go compete with.
Oregon had to settle for the number 5 edge in the country.
Fair enough.
Got him out of Mobile, Alabama somehow. I don't know how that's possible.
Jesus, I mean, I could. Do you want to know how that's possible? Because I can tell you precisely how that's possible. You don't think it's money?
Oh well, yes. No, I thought you were saying. I thought you were saying Kalen DeBoer.
No, well, maybe that too. Oh, it's just it's a money is the thing, but also like flipping a like solid 3-star blocking tight end from Florida the week of, and the 2 wide receivers that flipped last minute. I thought Jed really focused on a lot of the right places, and then it was just like, all right, we're losing receivers. We could tell, fuck it, let's go get some receivers, and they did it. So it shows an investment. You don't have a class like this without the athletic department in general being committed to spending money, right? And Jed doing a good job recruiting. That motherfucker can go in there and talk. You know, that stuff still works. The money matters, and he's able to convince people of what he is doing here. And he's done it consistently, from Arizona having some of their best classes ever to now literally in his 3rd recruiting class, his 2nd proper recruiting class at UW, has the best recruiting class in UW history.
Yeah. He said he was going to do it. He called his shot.
I think that is pretty freaking notable. So,
well, the Huskies are also hoping it is the greatest LA Bowl in program history.
Gronk presents the LA Bowl
as they take on Boise State this Saturday, which is just wild. It is they're like the regular season, quote unquote, is still going on in terms of RV Navy on Saturday, and the Huskies are going to be playing a bowl game, which is kind of a bummer in terms of like the season not feeling longer, and certainly doesn't allow them to get the kind of practice time together that they would have otherwise. But such is life. Let's talk about the Broncos. It's the 2nd full year as head coach for Spencer Danielson, who in his first led Boise State to the playoff and a loss to Penn State in the Fiesta Bowl. They lost in their opener at South Florida. They also lost 28-7 at Notre Dame out of conference. Their 2 conference losses came back-to-back, 30-7 at home against Fresno State, 17-7 at San Diego State, but they rallied to get into a 4-way tie atop the Mountain West, which was broke by computer rankings, I believe, and hosted the championship game, beating UNLV 38-21 for a 3rd consecutive Mountain West championship, 6th in 13 years since the league went to a title game, and obviously their last before departing for a reconstituted Pac-12 in 2026.
This headline on ESPN: Knicks, closer to an identity, reach NBA Cup semis, as if it's like an achievement that you can get. Where it's like
NBA Live, it's a 2K. Yeah,
one more point. It's like we've reached an identity.
Identity unlocked. Both of Boise State's conference losses came with starting quarterback Maddox Madsen sidelined by an ankle/toe injury that he suffered early in the Fresno State game. He returned for the title game last Friday, went 17 of 31 for 289 yards, 3 touchdowns. Backup Max Cutforth completed 57% of his passes, had just 2 interceptions, but the offense was not nearly as explosive with him at the controls. Cutforth averaged 6.1 yards per attempt as compared to 8.0 for Madsen. This is still a Boise State team with a running identity despite the loss of Ashton Jeanty to the NFL and to the Raiders. They averaged 40.5 carries per game. That was actually more than last season, to 33 passing attempts. 3 different running backs averaged at least 5 yards per carry, led by 5.9 from Dylan Riley, who's already over 1,000 yards. But a lot of that damage was done in 3 games where they were over 8.4 yards per carry. One of them against UNLV in the regular season was not just beating up on lesser foes. They were held under 4 yards per carry as a team 7 times, and went 4-3 in those games. So that's certainly going to be the whole goal for a UW run defense that improved as the season went on. Their leading receiver, Latrell Cables, I thought this was notable, had fewer yards than Desmond Roebuck, so they spread it around quite a bit when they do throw. This, I think, is the number one thing that's encouraging for UW, especially with Jonah Coleman playing in this game, despite his farewell message that sort of seemed to indicate he was going to opt out, and Adam Mohammed playing so well at the end of the season.
Everybody's playing, as far as we know, right?
That's the word. Boise State gave up at least 200 yards on the ground 5 times. Somehow won 3 of those games, but their 4.9 opponent yards per carry was 19th highest in FBS. The similar teams that UW faced, to give you some context for this, were Purdue and UCLA. So some teams that the Huskies did pretty well against offensively. This Boise State defense was very good against the pass. Opponents completed just 54% of passes, 7th lowest in the country. They will give up a big play, allowing 11.1 yards per completion, and we're in the top 25 nationally in forcing turnovers. So all of this, I don't know, where are you at in terms of caring about this game?
I think it would be really nice to end this season with a victory. How about that?
Some people seem upset about playing Boise State because the Huskies have played them a lot recently, including in the 2019 Las Vegas Bowl that I covered for ESPN. I like it. I think that's fun. I think you should play familiar opponents in bowl games. I mean, there is a novelty to, like, last year the Huskies played Louisville, and when else are you going to play Louisville? I get that, but I do think there's something to be said, especially now that Boise State is a Pac-12 foe.
I kind of see it both ways. Like I understand where all parties are coming from. Of it's kind of fun. It is fun to play new teams, and it's also fun to play the teams that you kind of were familiar with.
Have a rival.
Maybe it's fun to play games.
I think so. They don't play that.
We had fun with them playing Southern Miss. All of them are kind of memorable when you play these random teams across the board. But FBI just doesn't really think Boise State's very good. I think that's kind of what it boils down to, is they're just not that good of a team. And there's plenty of teams in this territory that we just assume that, I mean, shit, some of them are making the playoffs, but there are many teams in this territory that it's just like, we would beat this team home, road, anywhere. And
let's be careful with that. The road has still been a struggle sometimes. It's interesting to me that the history of this is that the Mountain West teams have generally done much better in the LA Bowl than the traditional Pac-12 representatives. I do think there's an element of, a Pac-12 team is disappointed to be in the LA Bowl in a way that the Mountain West team probably is not. And I don't think that's going to happen with Jedd Fisch, especially there's been a period of time to sort of process that the playoffs were off the table for the Huskies.
I think it's really the impressive piece is where the program is at right now, that Jedd has, as far as we can tell, everybody playing in this game, nobody opting out, including, Denzel has a lot to lose, right? There are players who have stuff to lose, that they only have one player who's announced, and maybe the exodus isn't probably the right word, but players who are going into the transfer portal will probably just fuck it, I'll wait until after this game because of
it's so early,
how early it is. But I do think he's holding things together.
I don't know when the portal even opens. I don't think you are allowed to submit a notification of transfer.
It's open right now.
Is it?
Yeah.
All right, but it's a few days, and you got to finish classes anyway because your finals are this, next week likely, or this week. So,
it opens very soon. There have been other good players who have entered the transfer portal.
Yeah, I think that's it. The fact that it's LA is probably a positive from the standpoint of, as we saw with the UCLA game and how important it was to Jacob Manu to play in that game.
A lot of these players
is a
are from
homecoming
LA.
for
Yeah.
a good percentage of the roster, and even those who aren't, people are going to be willing to go down to LA to play in this game at SoFi Stadium. This is a fun game to play in probably a way that, frankly, the Sun Bowl, is not to the same degree.
I guess it opens on January 2nd is the main window.
Oh, they've changed it substantially. Because before, players were set on new teams by this point.
I mean, we may hear that players are set on new teams, but
they're not technically supposed to be.
Yes.
If we talk about this as a football game, I would say it all sets up to, if the Huskies can take the lead early and continue running the ball while forcing Boise State to pass, that's a very good situation for them. What Boise State wants in this one is they lead, UW gets one-dimensional, can't do as much on the ground as they would like and expose the Broncos' weakness there. That's the game that they want. So I don't think that's likely to happen, but that is the scenario that leads to a Boise State win.
I mean, you mentioned the Purdue and UCLA being the teams that are in that territory, and both of those games, the Huskies scored 48 or more points. And
granted, not all of that on offense in the UCLA game, and certainly the Boise State offense is much better than the UCLA offense. I do think they are a little underrated by FPI because, again, they played with a backup quarterback for 2 games, including 2 losses. So you take those 2 games out of the mix, they're a much better team.
Yeah, sure. I mean, they're better than UCLA. They're a competent team, but UW's, they're going to score in this game. Like this is a little bit of their last game was frustrating. They didn't get the offense going the way that they wanted it to. Like this is where they take out the aggression is on Boise State. You also remember it, like it hasn't been that long. They're going to remember that, and seemingly pretty healthy in this situation. They're not the kind of team that can slow UW down. I think UW could win this game by 25 or 30 points.
I mean, I wouldn't expect that. I don't think it's inconceivable.
Jed's also going to run that fucker up. Like he has proven to us that he is happy to run the score up in these games. It's the last game for many of these players. He's going to be like, hey, go out on a big win.
Score some touchdowns.
Yeah. I think it would feel very, very good to end the season with a victory like that. And just to feel like there's a lot of good news around the program right now, So I think it could be very cool to end up this season as 9-4 is a good record to have. You're one game away from including the postseason being at double-digit wins. The recruiting class is great. Jed, as far as we know, is staying. A lot of the roster is coming back. I think
it would take something pretty shocking at this point. I think
I'm not ruling anything out.
It's true. We've been there. We've literally been there.
Yes, there are teams that are playing in the playoff that there's a reality that you never know. How about that? All of a sudden, a whole change reaction could happen. 80%.
Well, it's going to be hard for Killing DeBoer to take the Penn State job. 80%?
Yeah.
In a Peltoncast first, I'm also at 80%.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say that I was way too high.
No. I mean, FBI has it 72%. And I guess they all, like I said, they probably are a little underrated. But I just think this matchup bodes well, especially the way that Adam Muhammad's been playing lately.
I'm excited to see it. I'm excited. I love this team. I love this team and these players. So getting to see
I especially enjoy watching them against bad defenses.
I love them when they're not playing good teams.
Well, you know who I'm excited to watch is the Seattle Seahawks defense, as we talked about earlier.
Let me just tell you, FBI efficiency, you were like, I'm skeptical about Texas Tech. Number 3 in the country. Number 1 defense in the country.
I don't know if I was skeptical about Texas Tech 2025.
So that's second round matchup. And the thing that Texas Tech does is they sack the quarterback, which again, like thinking about college, sacks happen, but like they had a 13.5 sack player this year and an 8.5 sack player and 4.5. Like who's the Husky leader?
Oh, it's like 3.5 probably.
Right.
Maybe
like
for Anthony Ward. I don't think Durfee got that high. I do think UW is probably unusually poor in this regard.
Yeah, 3.5, 3, 2.
I mean, you can probably sort of. Yeah, Jacob Lane had 3.5. Durfee had 3. They were the only 2 over 2.
Anyway, there are not that many double-digit players in sacks across the country. So, David Bailey is a factor.
Or the Seahawks defense will be a factor on Sunday as they take on the Indianapolis Colts. What looked like it was going to be a showdown of 2 of the top 4 teams in DVOA, but the matchup changed pretty dramatically on Sunday when Daniel Jones crumpled to the ground with a non-contact injury that everyone pretty quickly feared and was eventually ruled as an Achilles rupture. Jones had started all 13 games in a career year for him in his first year in Indianapolis, was 7th in EPA plus CPOE composite. So on Sunday, 6th-round pick Riley Leonard, Notre Dame product via Duke, comes in, went 18 of 29 for 145 yards and interception in a pretty lopsided loss at Jacksonville. Averaged just 8.1 yards per completion as compared to 11.9 for Jones. But just as we were preparing to figure out Riley Leonard against the Seahawks, he reported a knee injury to the training staff on Monday, and my ESPN colleague Adam Schefter reported he was diagnosed with a knee strain. Week to week, the Colts will know more Wednesday about his chances to play this week.
He's not playing.
I don't know if I would rule it out. Anthony Richardson Sr., who we once wanted the Seahawks to draft. Instead, they took Devin Witherspoon after Richardson went fourth to the Colts, is on IR following an orbital fracture suffered in pregame warmups. That leaves Spokane native Brett Ripien as the only other quarterback who was on the roster before this week on the practice squad. The Boise State product.
Yeah, Boise State.
4 career starts, last coming in 2023 with the Rams. He was with the Seahawks later that season on the practice squad. Has not thrown a regular season pass since then, although he did appear in a game earlier this season for the Cincinnati Bengals, then was waived after they added Joe Flacco.
When your starting quarterback appeared in a game for another team this season, not usually a good sign.
I mean, maybe if you traded for them. So, on Tuesday, a day after his 44th birthday, the Colts added Phillip Rivers to their practice squad as an option. He last played for Indianapolis during the 2020 season.
Doesn't it feel like there was way more recent than that? I saw 2020 and I was like, I swear I remember watching him in 2023 at the very least.
It doesn't feel way more recent, but I was remembered. I think there was a point where there was like talk about whether somebody might sign him after his son's high school team, like he was helping coach after their playoffs. Like there was talk about him playing. This was probably 21, but obviously it did not come to pass.
I live for this shit. So much fun. Like, especially when you saw it reported and then it happening was like, it is the most fun thing when a player comes out of retirement to play, especially at 44 years old.
Oh, buddy.
I get to feel young again.
You are younger now than an NFL quarterback. Even I am younger than an NFL quarterback.
I was always younger than Flacco.
Yeah. So his relationship with Colts head coach Shane Steichen goes back to Steichen's time as assistant coach for 6 years when Rivers with the Chargers, serving as quarterback coach at one point before being promoted to offensive coordinator. So this is not a case of him having to learn a new system. However, this is a case of him having to learn how to play quarterback in the NFL again after 5 years. I still don't believe they're going to start him.
Oh, they're not going to start him. There's no chance they're going to start Phil Rivers unless he shows up to practice and it's like, damn, Phil's been practicing. But like his ability to adjust to the speed of an NFL game with no prior experience doing that for 5 years.
Actually, lots of prior experience, but yes.
But you understand what I'm saying? Like,
yes,
for 5 years. I think you can forget just how fast, and he might be able to pick it up very quickly. The Seahawks defense is not where you want to do that. You remember last year when we started Damon Williams against Oregon, and it was like, that probably shouldn't be his first ever career start, and he got sacked like 12 times.
I do.
That is the type of situation. Like Phil Rivers, I am throwing this out there. He could probably check down better than Max Brosmer. But I do think if they started Phil Rivers, we might be talking about a Brosmer type situation.
I think it would go better than Brosmer. Here's the scenario I think is plausible. So this is only if Riley Leonard is in fact out. I think it is plausible that they would start Rippin and then have Rivers ready to go if things went poorly, similar to what we have experienced seeing with John Wolford and Jared Goff back in the 2020 season in the playoff game.
It would be like that.
Except
if Jared Goff was 45 years old and hadn't played football for 5 years.
I'm just describing the way that he might be utilized, not
and if any person could just cook Pete Carroll's defense. If Sean McVay could put literally anybody back there and they would just cook Pete Carroll's defense.
I got to say, he did not cook Pete Carroll's defense the last, maybe he did. He was 13 of 26 for 228 yards and 2 touchdowns the last time they played the Seahawks. That was in 2018. Yeah. With the Chargers. Was that the game we went in there and just kind of casually beat them? No, the Chargers won.
Okay.
The only time the Seahawks have ever beat Phillip Rivers was 2010 of all seasons.
Wow.
Although in that game, Phillip Rivers went 29 of 53 for 455 yards in a 27-20 loss. The game that we all remember is 2014. This is like Legion of Boom era, a team that went to the Super Bowl for the second consecutive season that year. This was week 2. The Chargers beat the Seahawks 30-21, 28 of 37 for 284 yards and 3 touchdowns. And it felt like I'll look up what the third down stats were, but it felt like every third down he found Keenan Allen.
I am not afraid of Phil Rivers anymore.
I'm also not afraid of Phil Rivers anymore, but I do want to pay testament to, I guess it was more Antonio Gates, who had 7 catches on 7 targets for 96 yards and 3 touchdowns.
The level of confidence I have in the Seahawks defense is like they could be playing against good, actual, active NFL quarterbacks. Like Matthew Stafford is having the best season of his career, and the Seahawks still had him have his worst game as a Ram. And we're talking about 45-year-old Phil Rivers. Just does he want to be like a nickel blitz with Devin Witherspoon coming off the edge or Nicky Manwari? Do you think Phil Rivers wants to be hit by one of those players right now when you haven't been hit like that for 5 years? And do you know how fast those players are in the backfield?
I mean, I think it will be, if we do see Rivers, there'll be a lot of checkdowns. It will be a lot of throwing the ball in the dirt.
It'll be a lot of checkdowns. Leonard Williams.
I mean, the Colts offensive line is good.
Yeah, but there's just they would still be getting to the quarterback if it was dimes. Like this defense is gonna get to the quarterback. At the very least, they're gonna hit him. If he doesn't have the ball, you're not allowed to hit it. Sure.
I don't think that strategy is conducive to scoring a lot of points, but I don't think Phillip Rivers is going to get hit very often if he does play in this game.
Really?
No, he's just not going to allow it.
He's going to get that fucker out really fast.
Have you watched Aaron Rodgers play?
He is not going to play in this game.
I don't think that they signed him to play in this game, but we'll see. Jonathan Taylor, we talked about the Offensive Player of the Year race earlier, leads the NFL with 356 yards and 16 touchdowns on the ground, but has not been as productive since 244 yards on 32 carries in the overtime win over Atlanta that we referenced earlier. Hasn't topped 85 yards on the ground since, and that was his only 100-yard game since Halloween. Taylor had just 3.5 yards per carry on Sunday running against stacked boxes. His first game this season without a catch. He had at least 2 in every game previously. I am acutely aware of this with Jonathan Taylor on my fantasy team. Jones was the only other player for the Colts with more than 18 carries this season. Nobody has gone as hard to a single running back as Indianapolis has this year. It's pretty wild.
They also sacked Aaron Rodgers 3 times, and he threw 2 interceptions in that game and had a QBR of 41.
It's not like okay.
And he is multiple years younger than Phil Rivers and has consistently been playing football.
I'm aware. I feel like it's likely to go well.
I think you are underestimating.
I'm just saying. Do you remember what it was like when I played football? Do you think I got hit a lot when we played tackle football? No, because I did not put myself in position to get to.
I don't think Phil Rivers is going to crumple to the ground and be like, let Leonard Williams touch him. I am skeptical about that. He's still a competitor. He's out there to go play football. If he is out there to go play football, he's out there to go play football. And it is going to be hilarious. Nothing good is that Jonathan Taylor doesn't matter. You can talk about everything of everybody else in this field or whatever. Literally, they are not factors.
I mean, Taylor probably is not a factor because of these issues.
And also because the Seahawks just would make him, like even what they did to Bijan last week. Again, as somebody who's acutely aware.
Moments.
He had like a few carries of a few yards.
Sometimes you can get some yards against the Seahawks, but probably not getting a lot of points.
This run defense would shut down Jonathan Taylor, whether it was Daniel Jones out there, whether it was Peyton Manning out there. It doesn't matter. Like they are going to do a good job against Jonathan Taylor. And now all of a sudden, Brett Rippon is probably going to be playing quarterback.
You're overly confident here.
I'm overly confident. Brett, are you joking? This is the best defense in the NFL against. Like, granted, Brett Rippon. Like
he's probably not the worst quarterback in the NFL.
Well, Max Brosmer is the worst quarterback in the NFL. Clearly, Brett Rippon has something going on for him because he has managed to hang around NFL teams for 6 years.
Yeah,
he started 4 games in that time period, and he's not been good. At any point, he has 4 touchdowns and 9 interceptions.
I mean, he had a 54 QBR in one of those. one game season.
Hello. And I also
that's better than average.
He is not playing against the best defense in the NFL.
Well, QBR is opponent adjusted, but 27-40 for 295 yards and 2 touchdowns in Denver in 2020. No, granted, 4 interceptions. I wonder if he played. Was Drew Lock still in COVID protocol the week after the Kendall Hinton game? Is that when he got to play? That's a great question. When was
they had CJ Stroud, a competent current NFL quarterback who's played in playoff games, 23 of 49, 4.7 yards per completion, 3 sacks for 31 yards, 1 interception, 28.4 QBR.
The Seahawks defense is very good. It is not infallible. Kirk Cousins is not notably motable at this point of his career. He did complete some passes.
He had an 18 QBR. What about this game where you're like, yeah, that's good?
I'm just like, you're making it sound like they're not going to gain any yards on offense is the way you're describing.
They're not. I am back to I think they're going to score a touchdown. How about that?
That's big. It's enough to win.
Oh, are you joking? The over-under is 1.5.
I think that's probably
for touchdowns.
Right.
And I'm taking the under. And I also think the Seahawks match them defensive touchdowns. They match defensive touchdowns to offensive touchdowns for the Colts.
That's certainly plausible. The Colts have 3 players with at least 699 yards receiving, the most in the NFL. Just 5 other teams have 2 of those. Alec Pierce is the big play threat. He leads the team with 769 yards. He was number 1 in the NFL in both yards per reception and per target in 2024, down to only 20.2 yards per reception this season. Still number 1 in the league amid far greater volume. Michael Pittman Jr. and Tyler Warren both have precisely 699 yards. Warren, I think somebody you could see targeted a lot in this one. He's been outstanding as a rookie, averaging 8.3 yards per target. As if the Jones injury wasn't enough and the Riley Leonard injury, starting right tackle Braden Smith and starting cornerback Javarius Ward suffered concussions on Sunday. It's Ward's 3rd of the year, which is very disconcerting. The Colts were already down new cornerback Sauce Gardner due to a calf injury. This defense, number 7 in opponent EPA per play on rushes, but 14th on passes, despite a really good pass rush, 4th in QB hurry percentage per Sports Info system, only average in sack rate. Kwity Paye, the biggest reason for that. He has 11 hurries, but just 4 sacks. Our old friend Leatu Latu, as we referenced earlier, leads the team with 5.5 sacks. The other thing working against the Colts here, they're on their 3rd kicker of the year with Spencer Schrader on IR. They waived Michael Badgley last week after he missed his 3rd extra point during that period as a replacement, and they now have former Saint Blake Grupe kicking for them.
This team traded 2 first-round picks for a player for this year.
Sometimes you make a decision and you immediately regret that decision.
I thought Riley Leonard looked really confident when he came in. Like if this was no, that's it. He came in and I was like, Riley Leonard really looks like he knows what he's doing out there. Better than I would expect from, I think it's like a 4th-round pick.
6th rounder. But Riley Leonard was a very good.
I thought he was a
NCAA
good college quarterback. Yeah,
this is the difference between him and Max Brosmer, who is a middle of the pack Big Ten quarterback.
He's played in playoff games. Like Riley Leonard's done the thing, but
we didn't see a lot of running threat from him last week. He did have a 6-yard scramble for a TD in garbage time, but 900 plus yards on the ground last year for Notre Dame. So I think his legs would be a pretty significant threat if he is able to play and is healthy.
I mean, what the Seahawks are talking about right now is the LA Rams in 10 days. But what the Seahawks are also talking about now,
they're not,
is stopping the run, because that's what teams talk about. And they're just like, Jonathan Taylor, stop him. And stopping Tyler Warren.
Make them one-dimensional.
Is those 2 things. Like those 2 players, I think, are who they want to shut down. I thought we'll see on Eman Wari, like if he's matched up in coverage against Tyler Warren. It's going to be an interesting matchup. It'll be kind of fun. Tyler Warren will probably get him sometimes, but I just don't even know if Brett Rippon is able to get the ball there. Like how quickly that pass rush is going to get there, whether he's making accurate throws. I'm not fully convinced of it. So beyond that, I mean, this is a team that got crushed pretty badly by the Jaguars last week and has not been playing their best football. Like, yes, the DVOA is still good, but things have been trending down anyway before then. And, they're on a 3-game losing streak right now. And they just lost their starting quarterback. So times are not looking great for the Colts.
I would agree. Percentage chances of victory.
I really want to go 100%. It's like, it is an NFL game, and you never know. So I'm going to say 92%.
91%.
Oh, wow. That has to be like up there with one of our highest percentage of victories ever.
I mean, they're 13.5 point favorites.
Oh, is it up to 13.5?
Yeah, it keeps climbing. Daniel Jones is worth 10 points.
There's just no. Well, I don't know if Daniel Jones is worth 10.
Daniel Jones was probably worth about 6.
It was 10.5 with Riley Leonard. And then I guess the difference between Riley Leonard and Brett Rippon is 3. But also the Seahawks have been a little bit underrated by Vegas this year.
I think they keep nobody can keep blowing teams out every week.
I mean, some of the spreads have not been as high
as
I guess I haven't seen how many times they've covered the spread, but I would assume it's a lot.
Did they end up covering in the Rams game? 10-3 against the spread.
Oh yeah, I think they did. It was more than 2. So the 3 were the Niners. Did they not cover in that game?
No, they did
at the Cardinals.
Wait, no,
the
yeah,
Bucks.
they did not. Yes.
And then was it the Niners?
Niners at the Bucks and
the Titans at the Titans. That had to be more than 6.
I don't know. This AI summary is giving me inaccurate.
I don't think they covered at the Titans.
I mean, yeah, they probably did not cover at the Titans. Yes. Okay.
Well,
all right.
They are 10-3 and 10-3 against the spread.
Yeah.
I was kind of looking forward to this one. I'm not sad about Daniel Jones being out, but
I mean, I am sad for Daniel Jones about Daniel Jones being out.
I guess next week when we're doing our year in review, we'll be talking about the Los Angeles Rams also.
Indeed, we will.
And fingers crossed that it is a matchup for first place in the NFC.
No matter what, it's going to be first place in the NFC West, I suppose. So, on that note,
thanks for listening.
Thanks.
Luca just said you're talking about Hannes Steinbach and not having me on. He cares so much. You know how I care way more about Husky football than you do?
Yes.
And you were posting about Husky basketball while the conference championship games were happening, and I was like, no one cares until I cared. But Luca cares way more about Husky basketball than I care about Husky basketball.
When are you going to take him to a game? Let me see Hannes Steinbach in person.
I was like, why are these tickets so expensive right now? Even for the bad ones. I'm waiting for them to become much cheaper.
Southern Utah.
Okay.
We will go to a game, but right now the ticket prices were way too high.
Purdue?
Well, Purdue's going to be a really expensive game.
Number 10 Purdue.
They do have the National Player of the Year in all likelihood. Or I think he was last year already. Braden Smith.
Literally no idea.
This is information you're unaware of.
Yeah, no idea. Brandon Smith, is that his name?
I believe it's Braden, but I now know not to speak extemporaneously on this podcast.
He's a white guy from Purdue.
Yeah, it is Braden Smith. Well, I have seen play in person because I saw Purdue win
6'7" Mason Smith.
One of the Phil Knight tournaments back in 2022, led by Zach Eady.
I don't accept any Phil Knight tournaments. We did a thing. We were driving to Dojoy on the weekend, and it's on Oregon Street. And I was like, I'm gonna do are you familiar with Bloods and Crips? They change B's to C's and stuff. And I was like, every time I see the word Oregon, I'm just gonna change it to Washington. And I was like, Dojoy's on Washington Street.
That's definitely not going to be confusing to people at all if you try to give them instructions.
Yeah, it's like Washington's playing James Madison in the college football playoff. It ends up a little confusing.
Turn right on the team down south way.
There are many situations like when we go to Portland in winter, I'm going to be like entering Washington.
Just don't think it works.
I'm still workshopping it.
Yeah.
Leaving Washington. The whole thing is Washington. I thought it was a funny bit though to be like pulling up to Washington Street.
It's funny because if you go back to the original name, we are actually in the original Oregon territory, right?
I reject that completely.
I believe Oregon territory originally encompassed all of it. Going back to the border dispute.
This is all native land, if we're being honest.
That's very true.
You mean the Washingtons?
The Washingtons, Washington territory. I used to crush at the Washington Trail.
Oregon territory. That's weird. I died of dysentery. I fjorded a river. It was strange. Oregon territory consisted of not only Washington and Oregon, but also basically all of Idaho and some of Montana.
You have to ask the question if we even want it. Okay, we have to also talk about. I don't think we have time for a top 5 Christmas songs. Well, I need to research. How about that?
I'm not prepared. I mean, we've done this on the podcast before. I can look up when we did it.
But to me, objectively, it's apparently the audio quality is bad. I didn't realize that even after we talked about Thanksgiving, that you put the Nate Duncan Thanksgiving conversation after that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I told you I was going to do it.
People listened to it.
People did listen to it. We do need to re-record it. The audio quality is not great. I had forgotten that.
I recorded it from.
I put it in there.
What's the building that all like the consulates are in by Seattle's historic Paramount Theater?
I'm not familiar with this.
Hold on, what building is that in? 701 Pike Street. I'm trying to think what that building is. I was just walking around that building though. Like I distinctly remember being there and just looking out, and it was the middle of a workday, and I just left in the middle of the workday to go talk about Thanksgiving food with Nate Duncan.
Sounds about right. So anyways, objectively speaking, the best Christmas song is Santa Claus is Coming to Town, performed by Bruce Springsteen in the E Street Band, which we have seen live and in person.
That is, I think that's like a real flex. Having
in
seen
Portland, Washington.
He just said it was in Portland, Washington. Which is where we traveled all the way from Washington to Washington to see Bruce Springsteen.
So we can't do this with British Columbia because then we'll have no way of identifying Vancouver.
Yeah, Vancouver, Washington to Vancouver, Washington.
There's Vancouver's
no way of
Washington,
identifying. We don't hate we don't hate BC though.
We don't.
Yet.
We don't.
Yet.
Oh wow. The Nucks ever play the Kraken in a playoff series? Who knows?
All the way from Medford, Washington.
Medford, Washington.
You know, I really love my vacation.
All the way from Medford, Washington to Victoria, Washington.
Do you remember when we were kids and we used to go vacationing on the Washington coast?
Yeah, I loved going to the Washington coast.
Yeah,
it's like there is a Washington coast.
There isn't.
It's like Washington's not on the water.
Yeah, it's like there's not even like it's hilarious being like a coast in Washington. Who can imagine?
Obviously, there is objectively a coast. I've been to beaches on the Washington coast, but it's not the same.
Time zone part of Washington.
What? There's
Eastern part of Oregon.
is Mountain Time Zone?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the Mountain Time Zone in Washington.
we are taking Idaho now?
A certain part. No, he said that there's an eastern part of Washington.
Can you believe Washington and Washington State play the same day as Washington and Washington State?
Washington and Washington State play the same day as Washington and Washington State.
It's confusing because Washington State and Washington State are now, the only two teams in their conference.
That is true. It's oops all Washingtons for the Pac-12.
Although they will soon be joined by a team that we already talked about.
I'm traveling from Boise, Washington, all the way out to Washington.
We're taking the whole territory.
Wow, I did not know this about Mulher County in Washington.
Mulher County, Washington.
Mailer. I guess it's
LA, Washington.
Yeah,
Marco's
that
still
uses
tell
the
Marco to get dressed. Okay, you don't have to yell at him. Tay, what street is Dojoy on? Poop Street?
See, that's a clearer replacement. If you use that one, it's less confusing. So,
okay, tell Marco to get dressed. Okay, so the best Christmas song. I think Santa Claus is coming to town. See, I don't know if you need to choose a specific version of a song, because to me, a song should be good no matter who is performing it, right?
I generally agree, but I have in the past argued that that is not only the best Christmas song, but the best song, period.
Santa Claus is coming to town as performed by Bruce Springsteen.
It's an extreme take, which is I've only delivered during the holiday season.
Well, I mean, why would you deliver that take in June? I think that's probably the argument against it being the best song ever.
Of course it is.
Is that it's only listenable for 1 month out of the year?
What is listenable in the other months? It just you're not allowed to.
I would be offended to hear it any other time of the year. But the Christmas song is the best Christmas song.
The Christmas song is not on my Christmas playlist.
Well, maybe that's why you're just not familiar enough with it. Maybe you're not the Christmas song ball knower.
I mean, are we going to do our top 5 in a future podcast?
Absolutely, we're going to do our top 5 in a future podcast.
I'm not going to share the rest of them then.
I guess next week, 2 weeks from now.
We don't have that many podcasts left, dude. If the listeners made it this far,
you mean in the year?
Just in life, in society. Congratulations, and I'm sorry. There is an ongoing question. I feel like we should try to do the music episode and get that out this week, and then do the Seattle Sports Year in the Review next week, because people don't have a lot of extra time to listen to podcasts the week of Christmas.
Wow,
and the week between Christmas and New Year's. But
the music episode this week.
If people disagree, if people want more podcasts to listen to on their holiday driving, such as it is, please let us know.
Oh, families love to listen to the Peltoncast.
You know what family doesn't love to listen to the Peltoncast?
Our own family?
Oh, yes.
They get enough Peltoncast on their own.
Mom will sometimes, but yes. Oh, they get more than enough Peltoncast. The one question is, do we argue more offline or on the podcast?
Do we argue more? I don't feel like we argued that much. Yeah, Luca just said that's a lie.
I get less sleep on Tuesdays for a reason.
Luca's saying that we argue on the podcast. That's yes. No, I'm talking offline. We don't argue that much.
Oh, like on Thanksgiving?
Yeah, no, we didn't argue on Thanksgiving.
For the first
time.
It's true.
It's usually arguing with Jan. I feel like Jan.
It's not the two of us arguing. But sporting events where things are going poorly.
Husky football games is like.
Yeah, I can hear that.
And you and I each blame each other when the thing is going badly. Yes. Saying that it's clearly a pass interference. Everybody saw it. That's yeah.
It's a pass interference. The Washington Ducks are my favorite team.
This is a good bit.
I don't. I think we argue more on the podcast. It's because we save all of our most contentious conversations for the podcast.
Do you know what this means though? Is that now if this is the really confusing part. Taco Time Northwest does not operate in Western Washington.
Oh, that's a good point.
Western Washington is TTI country now.
Western Washington. Again, it's a little confusing, but
I have not been listening to Christmas music yet because I've been preparing for the Year in Review podcast. I've been cramming.
Wow. I haven't done that at all.
Well, you're just, you're out there working all year round. I give you the credit for it.
I guess that is true, but I don't know. I'm not necessarily listening to things that are music year in review type music. I had some ideas I wanted to jot down of general topics that we have to talk about.
Okay.
Including somehow probably Puff Daddy.
Apparently, yes.
What?
I haven't watched the documentary, so that's another thing I need to cram.
He killed Biggie. And apparently we found that out in the year 2025.
On that note,
Thanks for listening to Screaming Upstairs.
thanks.
Thanks.